And now from tensions here in Washington to tensions abroad, where the relationship between Paris and Washington is becoming increasingly more toxic. France has summoned the U.S. ambassador after he accused the country of failing to protect its Jewish community. The remarks have sparked a sharp diplomatic exchange and brought the Israeli-Palestinian conflict into the heart of European politics. The French Foreign Ministry summoned U.S. Ambassador Charles Kushner after he published a letter criticizing Paris. In his letter to President Emmanuel Macron, Kushner claimed France was not doing enough to tackle anti-Semitism. He warned that criticizing Israel while pushing to recognize a Palestinian state emboldens extremists and puts French Jews in danger. Kushner's intervention came as France and several Western nations prepare to recognize a Palestinian state. The letter he wrote was published in the Wall Street Journal and said, quote, "Anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism, plain and simple," end quote.
Public statements haranguing Israel and gestures toward recognition of a Palestinian state embolden extremists, fuel violence, and endanger Jewish life in France. In today's world, anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism, plain and simple.
Now, Paris reacted immediately, calling this claim unacceptable. And the Foreign Ministry said France is fully committed to combating anti-Semitism. It also warned that the ambassador's comments breached diplomatic norms by interfering in domestic affairs. The statement also added that his words undermined trust between allies and did not match the quality of their transatlantic relationship. The French presidency backed the response, calling for seriousness and responsibility.
France firmly refutes these latest allegations. The allegations from the ambassador are unacceptable. Furthermore, they do not live up to the quality of the transatlantic relationship between France and the United States.
The U.S. State Department, however, stood by Kushner's comments. A spokesman said he represents American interests in France and is doing a great job in that role. This is not the first time that France has faced such criticism. In fact, just last week, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu sent a similar message to President Macron, linking the move to recognize Palestine with anti-Semitism. The Elysee Palace shot back, calling the Prime Minister's remarks abject and erroneous. Rights advocates say Israeli officials and their supporters routinely label criticism of Israel as anti-Semitic to divert attention from alleged abuses against Palestinians. They argue that accusations of anti-Semitism are being used to silence the debate around Israel's actions in Gaza. And on the ground, Israel continues to pound Gaza. The United Nations Human Rights Office accuses Israel of using starvation as a weapon of war, systematically displacing residents of the besieged strip and killing dozens every single day.
The risk of starvation is everywhere in Gaza. This is a direct result of the Israeli government's policy of blocking humanitarian aid. In the past few weeks, Israeli authorities have only allowed aid to enter in quantities that remain far below what would be required to avert widespread starvation. Reaching the meager supplies available can be a deadly pursuit.
Now, France has condemned these actions while maintaining trade and security ties with Israel. Yet the move to recognize Palestine has infuriated both Israel and Washington. Gaza is now under a UN-declared famine, and the first of its kind in the Middle East, threatening almost 500,000 people with catastrophic hunger. Controversy has also thrown the spotlight on Charles Kushner, who is Jewish himself, and he's the father of Jared Kushner, Donald Trump's son-in-law and a former White House advisor. Now, Kushner was convicted of tax evasion and witness tampering in 2005, but was pardoned by President Trump during his first term. This latest clash, however, shows how the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is reshaping diplomatic ties far beyond the Middle East, but also, most importantly, to two of the closest allies in the world, the U.S. and France.
Firstpost now available in 9 languages on YouTube. English,
$36 trillion.
French,
Le FMI,
German,
Geschäftsführenden Direktor,
Hindi,
$30 trillion ka-charge.
Indonesian,
Pemerintah tanpa pemeriksaan.
Italian,
Fiskali radikali.
Japanese,
$1
Portuguese,
por causa do próprio balanço patrimonial.
Spanish.
Beautiful bill.
Go to Settings, Click on Audio Track and select the language of your choice. Be the first to know what's happening around you in your first language. Firstpost.